Do they think of you more as their dad as a businessman or their dad as a gambler?
I think they think that I am a YouTuber, which is worse than either of, which is honestly like way worse than either of the things that you mentioned.
The Business of Betting podcast is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. 4 out of the top 5 U.S. operators personalize player experiences with Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. Learn more about Optimove by requesting a demo at optimove.com/businessofbetting. And if you like what you see, you will get your first month free.
All right, welcome back to another edition of the Business of Betting podcast. I am your host, Jeff Edelstein, senior analyst at InGame. I am joined today by the man who got me the start in this business. It's true. Adam Levitan, co-founder of Establish the Run. Adam, thanks for joining.
Jeff edited the most prestigious book of our generation. And by book, I mean ebook. And by ebook, I mean a transcription of my podcast. So yes, it's my honor to repay the favor here.
Well, I mean, I'm still angling. Once a year, I'm like, when are you gonna self-publish this thing already? Put it out there. Let the world see it.
I know. You're not wrong. I think I'd have to actually do more work to turn it into an actual book, and so I'm not sure I can face that.
Well, how long ago was this? This got 5 years ago that we did this?
It's gotta be, yeah.
So I mean, you have 5 years of new stuff to work with.
That's true. I could do that. That's true. Just start from scratch.
No. Start to add. We are adding. Yeah. And, your reach, I'm sure, has grown tremendously in that time. This is the perfect Christmas gift. You pitch it to the wives to buy for the husband.
We'll make dozens of dollars.
Maybe even hundreds. We've known each other for a little bit. I've heard you on numerous other podcasts, and I have a list of things that I'm not sure that I've ever heard you talk about necessarily. So I'm curious about a lot of things. And the first thing that I want to start with is, I remember going back, and this is even, I've been playing DFS since 2015, and you used to do a podcast with JM to Win, and I forget the third guy now. I'm drawing a blank.
Me too.
All right. But it ended up being the two of you. And I remember, at some point, JM went off and started 1 week season. And I remember he used to grill him like, holy shit, man, what are you doing? You're only charging $29. This is insane. You should be charging so much more. And I may have my timeline wrong, but I kind of feel like he was the first guy to go out really on his own, right? And not have like a Rotoworld or Roto Grinders, and he built a little bit of a following and he started his own thing. And I remember thinking at the time, well, that's pretty ballsy. Like, how many people are there out there that are going to pay for something like this? Fast forward now with 10 years, there's probably 10,000 of you doing this, right? And obviously, you guys are one of them. Are you surprised at all that ETR has become like the barometer basically for the industry? Because it really is. I mean, everyone points to it. Well, let's see what ETR's projections are going to say. Like, obviously, you had a background in all this. Everyone knew you before. But when you started, did you think that you guys were going to immediately become like the de facto 1A?
It's funny because we didn't have projections when we first launched. We launched as, my first idea was Evan and I would just do a podcast and we'd charge for that. Not a lot, but we'd charge for that. And that's it. We would do like a show on like Friday night, talk about the slate and charge $50 for the year or $100 for the year. And that's it. I didn't want to go down it wasn't my intention to go down the path of that DFS has gone down, which is very, very data driven and very, very numbers driven and very, very projection and sim driven. But after a year or so, it was obvious that if we wanted to expand, and more importantly to me was expand beyond key man risk. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, projections are not going to change. They're going to be great. They're going to be the same. It can't, a real business can't be, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, that the business goes to zero. So that was part of the motivation. I didn't, I expect us to have the best stuff. I didn't think it would even be a question that we would, but getting there, it's harder than it seems just because it takes an army of people. And obviously it's very, very, very expensive to produce projections and have people on 24/7 to adjust them and everything like that. But yeah, obviously it turned out to be the right choice. I think it's a blessing and a curse in DFS. If everybody's using the same projections, it's not ideal. And that's where a lot of the sim stuff has come in and stuff like that.
Right. You met Evan at Rotoworld, is that?
Correct. Yes.
Again, I don't know you that well personally. I've never spoken with Evan, but like from my perspective, from an outsider's perspective, you guys strike me as like almost like an odd couple pairing, right? Where, and it just seems that way to me. Did you guys like immediately hit it off when you guys met each other, or was it a slow burn? And what's it like behind the scenes a little bit between the two of you?
Yeah. I mean, I just thought Evan had the best takes on football. And, this was before the Laundry Bros put him into Twitter retirement, but people probably remember. I mean, he used to be like the number one guy firing takes on Twitter. And I like agreed with like every one of his takes. He was already there at Rotoworld for maybe a year or two before I got there. I mean, this was so long ago. We're talking, 2006, 2007, something like that. We had never like hung out in person very often or really at all. We had a couple of like Rotoworld things, but just talking ball with him, I thought was like, he's more of a tape bro or whatever, and I'm more of a data bro, but I try to be both. I don't think I'm like excellent at either, which I think is okay. But yeah, I just think it's a good match to have someone maybe more like nerdier or whatever, or more, data driven like me, and have someone who is like a real ball guy like Evan. I think that's the best possible thing. And I like that. I like talking to people that aren't in the same circle that I'm in. Most people that I talk to are all just like data bros.
Right. Well, it still shows, like you listen to, the Friday night show. I mean, I think he's mentioned an offensive lineman, 13,000 times. I don't think I've ever heard you utter the name of an offensive lineman. Not sure you could name an offensive lineman if pressed. There's definitely like a good mix there, like a little peanut butter and chocolate. At what point during your time at Rotoworld did you guys say, hey, maybe we could do this on our own? And you guys didn't start, JM started 1 week season. I'm just curious, was that something that like entered into it at all? You don't even know.
I don't even remember Jam doing that at all. I do, just because I knew the Pocket Fives guys from back in the poker day, and that was Cal and Cam, and Cal and Cam started Roto Grinders. So like I was already like, oh, you can just do things. It was like, you don't need permission. Like Cal and Cam just started Roto Grinders, and now, look at this. It's not, anybody can do that. So I didn't, the Jam thing, like I vaguely remember as interesting. I do remember thinking to myself, like, how are you going to make money if you're only charging $20 for the whole year? How are you going to make a living? I do remember saying that to him. So maybe it was after, but also in 2015, like the Fantasy Labs thing was really the first thing. And that was Peter and Bales. And I got involved there like 6 months or maybe like 3 or 4 months after they launched or something like that. And that was 2015. And that was what actually pushed me to leave Rotoworld. I mean, looking back, like NBC is such a massive company. And like, I see it now on a way smaller scale with us. Like, I just can't be on top of every little thing. And they were not on top of how much money was about to be made in DFS. If NBC had seen that, they could have been the number one affiliate to FanDuel or DraftKings or whoever they wanted. They just were not on it. And so they allowed all the affiliate money to go to Roto Grinders and Cal and Cam or whatever else. I pitched them, I think this was 2014 when I was at Rotoworld. I pitched them. I was like, hey, listen, we need to start a DFS product. I'll run it. You guys pay me a normal wage. I was making like $50,000 or something. I was already like pushing towards 30. And I said, I'll do this. And you guys pay me more or give me a piece of it or something like that. And they were just like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And so at that point I was like, all right, this DFS thing is going to be huge. It's right up my alley. Like, I want to play bigger. I want to play for real money. I want to like take people's throats out. Like, I don't like this season long stuff is cool, but like, I want to rip people's throats out when I'm playing and like play for as much money as possible. And just like in poker, so that was when I was like, I need to do something else. I was doing the Fantasy Labs and the DraftKings thing for a while. It wasn't until like 4 years later. We didn't start ETR until 2019. Evan was under contract for Rotoworld for NBC until then. So it wasn't until 2019 that Evan was even allowed to leave. And that's when we decided to start ETR.
Yeah, I mean, your instinct was correct back in 14. I distinctly remember a friend of mine, my home league, my home fantasy football league, we've been doing this since 1986. And from 1986 until 2014, I spent probably 40 hours a fucking week during football season on this one team, looking at trades, free agents, and this is for like a $200 win. It was just, buddies from high school. It's all I cared about. I mean, it dominated my life. I distinctly, it's like, where were you when Kennedy was shot? This is my moment. I distinctly remember waiting to pick my son up off the bus from kindergarten. My buddy Matt calls me up and says, have you heard of this FanDuel thing? I'm like, I kind of heard of it. Sounds scammy. I don't know. He's like, I'm telling you, try it. You will never care about our home league ever again. I'm like, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. And that was the end of it. I won like $800 on a $2 thing in the beginning. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And now I'm even surprised that here I am 10, 12 years later, every single day I am playing it, right? Like it's my hobby, basically. I don't get tired of it. Are you surprised at the longevity of it?
No, only because I know what it looks like when there's actual skill in a game just from poker, and it's always going to sustain when there's out there people that can make a living and people that get entertainment from it and can play casually. So yeah, I'm not that surprised. At first I was just like, well, this isn't legal. That was my first thought. Your first thought was like, I'm never going to play my season-long league. My first thought was like, I didn't really care, but I was like, I don't think this is legal, but these days nothing matters anymore. Just do it. It doesn't matter. Just, prediction market, nothing matters. Just do it. It doesn't matter. And that wasn't the attitude I had back then. But yeah, credit to all those guys, FanDuel and DraftKings and like Nigel and Jason, like push this stuff through at the risk of like going to jail themselves. And obviously like I owe them a lot for that. It, changed my life. That they obviously made a lot of money, but changed my life for sure also.
I mean, it was a crazy, people picketing, like protesting, what a world. Although, speaking of DFS, you did make a half announcement on the Solo Pod this week of potentially retiring from cash. It's like a season ending cliffhanger. That's bullshit.
I don't know. I just feel like it's not like cash is not even what people want to hear about or read about anymore, but I'm sure I'll play next year.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll play once we get closer this season.
Yeah. All right. We'll table that for now. Here's a question for you about ETR. You guys started with football and you went into golf and MMA. You go to baseball is something that you guys ever going to tackle?
Yeah. So our goal for the last, I'd say 12 to 18 months has been like sustainability. It's like we started this in 2019. So we just wrapped up our 7th football season. Like it's not a startup anymore. We need employees to be happy, have like good work-life balance. Like we're not like bootstrapping our way to trying to get acquired or anything like that. Like it's not the startup feeling more. We're just like running a business. And so we are very sensitive about sustainability and burnout. And baseball is every day, multiple slates a day during the time of year that is actually like the most stressful for us. And not the beginning of baseball, but people think the season is most stressful. The most stressful by far is July, August, September. Like by far, those are the 3 most stressful months for us. And so to try to stack baseball on top of preparing for that, I don't want to say never, but I would say unlikely. It's just too much, I think, for us to try to stack on top of getting ready for football.
Let me ask you about the Solo Pod now. So I feel like I don't think it's a bit. I feel like you're consistently amazed that people are listening to you spew your takes.
No one in real life wants to hear my takes. In fact, the people in real life, like, get offended. I tell my wife all the time, like, do not take me here. I cannot help myself. I'm going to offend these people, like I can't help it. Cause like either I can say nothing, and then they're like, oh, Adam's aloof, or I can say what I think and offend people. I can't find somewhere in between, just like do the small talk things. So in real life, I don't get to really give these takes. No one wants to hear them. Apparently a lot of people on the internet, want to hear them. So yeah, it is incredible. And it's just a testament to the internet, honestly. No matter what you're into, there is a niche of the internet that is on board with you. Like you could be like, hey, I want to have sex with a kangaroo. And there's like 100 people that are like, yeah, I want a podcast about having sex with kangaroo. It's like, it's crazy. So yeah.
Well, it's like that. I think it was Gladwell, maybe the 1,000 true fans theory. You get 1,000 people to pay $100. You're in business, It does sound like my wife and your wife would have a lot of commonality. I cannot tell you, that look that I get sometimes when we're out is just like, I'm like, well, what did I do? I don't even know what I did, And then later when I'm told what I did, I'm like, I guess I could see how that might work. Are you bad at names? I can't remember people's names, like wherever I go.
I am. I try to do the thing where if someone, it's an old trick, like if they introduce themselves to you, you repeat their name back to them. And that helps me, but I'm still not good. Yeah.
One of my best lines ever, my wife accused me, rightly so, of only being able to remember the names of hot women. And I without skipping a beat, I go, I haven't forgotten your name yet, have I? So that's pretty good, I thought. That was one of my all-timers. All right, let me ask you a Solo Pod question here. I'm going to put you on the spot. Under what circumstances can one man talk to another man at the urinal with the dicks out?
Oh, anytime.
Really? Okay. No qualms.
I have no dick fear whatsoever. It wouldn't bother me. You want to talk to me naked? I go to this gym, there's just naked dudes everywhere. Everybody's hanging out, talking. Yeah, it's great.
Right. I bring it up because I did promise you a story in our text. My dad is a dead ringer for Larry David, who I know you're a big fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And when I say he's a dead ringer, people are like, oh, I'm sure he looks like him, whatever. During the height of Curb, he could not go anywhere without being stopped. And his name is Larry on top of it. So people would be like, Larry, and he turned around and that's it. That would be the end of it. And we were out to dinner one time and I walked to the bathroom and, it's like a Sunday night or whatever. And I'm standing at the urinal, taking a leak. And some guy comes up to me and goes, is it okay if I go up to the table to say hello? I said, go ahead, do whatever you want, But, like bother me in the bathroom to do this. And my father, at first he would say, I'm not Larry David. Then he stopped denying. He didn't say he was, but he'd stopped saying he wasn't. So he signed autographs, like the whole thing, it's unreal. And you would see people like look at him and be like, is it? It is. And then they run up to him, like literally would run up to him, And again, with his name being Larry, good luck saying I'm not him.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'd love to look like the true genius of our generation, it's amazing.
The greatest show of all time. Have you watched, here, I got a recommendation for you that I just started watching, that Tires. Have you seen Tires on Netflix with Shane Gillis? You'd like it. I think I'm officially recommending Tires to you, Adam. I'm really going out on a limb here. They push the envelope. We'll put it that way. They would be solo pod listeners, I think, the crew on that show. So you check it out. I think you'll like it. You're so deep in this business, right? And so many people, like personally, who like Sam Sherman, just a couple, like last week, who have won big money playing this, right? At what point are you like, what the fuck, man? Why not me?
I suck. Listen, like throughout my whole life, I've mostly concentrated on like grinding rather than going for big scores. It's been better for me. I think lately I've been more enticed by playing tournaments and trying to make big scores and stuff like that. So yeah, it's certainly more fun, to try to make big scores. But I think for a lot of people, and like, I know like a lot of people listen to me, and I didn't get into this like influence people or be an influencer, but I know when I say stuff that there's certain segment of people are going to be influenced. And so sometimes I say stuff like, listen, man, don't play the lottos. Like, you're not going to realize your equity. And like, if you only play this kind of stuff, you're really unlikely to ever have a positive expectation. And like, I'm saying that partially for me, but also because I think when people are like just getting into this, if you just play the Millie Maker, it's going to be a bad experience. Even if you have a really good team, you might win like $80. So I try to hopefully keep people's expectations realistic versus what goes on social media, which is, the ultimate comparison machine in your pocket, not just for somebody's money or somebody's wife or somebody's car or somebody's watch, all this ridiculous stuff that we never saw before that is all fake and stupid. But also you go on Twitter, you see it's like, another guy won $1 million, another guy won $2 million. Like, I'm going to go play DFS and do that. And I try not to let people think that's like that realistic.
It's not, but it happens. I'm sure you've been in a position like this. I've won 30,000 person tournaments. I'm like, oh shit, I was in the wrong fucking tournament. Like, man, if I had this $3 entry in the 25, now we're, things are much different. And the best part about me, I'm getting old. The number that I need to hit to stop work forever is getting lower and lower. Just 1 Millie Maker, and you'll never see me again. That's it. It's the end of it. Here's another thing I'm curious about. You are ETR. You have some of the best people in the business working, with you. I would imagine like your Slack channel is just chock full of great information during football season. How much time are you actually spending putting that cash game lineup together?
Yeah, not as much as I used to. I used to do it all off the top of my head, kind of without even looking at an optimizer and lineups. For the last few years, I've looked more at optimizer and tried to like start with a base team of what I want to do, and then maybe look at some 1v1s that are like a half a point apart in projection. I'm just trying really hard not to get bogged down in this because it's just like the difference between a guy we have projected for 12.5 and a guy we have for 12.1. In my head, I think I really do know which one is a better pick. If the slate was played out a million times, it would probably be really close which one was ahead. So I try not to get bogged down in that now. And like we've done I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I played Leone every week head to head. I used my team, which was, made up mostly from my head, and he took 1 second, 5 minutes before lock. He just put in our optimal for a half ceiling, half base projection. And I think I won like 8-7 or 9-8 or something like that. It was like super close. And at that point I was like, God, he's spending 1 minute on this. I'm like on my hands and knees, like begging to find the right lineup or something come to me. And so, yeah, at that point I was like, you know what, maybe I am better off just starting with at least a baseline of what's optimal based on our projections.
ETR again, real quick. You guys, as I said in the beginning, I think it's established fact that you guys are the leaders in this area here. What do you do to stay ahead? And like, because there's tons of people, tons of big names, tons of very smart people, nipping at your heels and, like making their own way. So like when you sit down for your end of the year, like look back, what do you guys say? How do we make this better? How do we stay on top?
Spend more money. I mean, it's incredible. All we do, like all the hires that we've made lately and, have been on the modeling side, on the data side, because staying ahead of sports books, competitors, exchanges, whatever is really not easy. And so we started with, 4 people at ETR. I didn't even think we needed more than 2. Forget about 4. I didn't even think we needed more than 2. Now we have dozens and dozens and dozens of people, which makes me, uncomfortable, but it's also like amazing. And so we hire people that legit should be working for NASA, but they are willing to work for us at a much discounted rate because it's sports, and that is like our big advantage in hiring is people want to have fun at work, want to work in sports. I think it's a pretty good job. We're not up people's ass all day. They work from home. That's like the key is finding the right people. Like the modeling stuff that we do now is way beyond my head. And, like these people are they should be solving like peace in the Middle East. Instead, they're working on like the NBA projections for tonight. But still, it's great for us. And that's really been the biggest thing.
How many times have you heard the word, this game is solved, right? I feel like DFS, like there's always something else, in sports, there's always something else to uncover. What happens when James Harden spends 3 seconds, in the paint as opposed to like 1.5 seconds? Like there's always something that you could like dig into that might find that edge that could last a day, a week, a year, right?
Of course. There's 100%, like it may not be the most efficient use of time, but there are people that can win just by knowing ball. And there's people that can win by being really good at sim stuff and automation, So I think there's a lot of different ways to win. I don't think we have uncovered all of them. There's definitely not even close.
Are you heavily involved like in the day-to-day like decision-making of the business?
Oh yeah. I try to leave like the business development stuff to Taylor. I mean, we're always taking calls from people about wanting to do partnership or whatever, who knows what. I used to take a lot of those with Taylor. I don't think that's the best use of my time. So Taylor takes most of those now in terms of like day-to-day, making sure all the projections are set. Everybody is doing and has what they need to do what they need to do. It's always something for sure.
When you started all this, this gambling world, you were single, then you were married, then you had kids. Your boys, how old are they?
Almost 11 and almost 8.
All right. So they're human beings at this point. They are well aware of the world around them, right? So do they look at you, do they think of you more as their dad as a businessman or their dad as a gambler?
I think they think that I am a YouTuber, which is worse than which is honestly like way worse than either of the things that you mentioned. I do not want to be a YouTuber. I do not want to do the thumbnails. I play that game because customer acquisition, we spend $0 on customer acquisition. And it's basically like me and Evan and whoever is tweeting, like that's customer acquisition. What's the point of doing a show on YouTube if people aren't going to watch it? And so you have to play the game. You have to do the right thumbnail and the right headline, all this stupid stuff. They think I'm a YouTuber, I do not think they have any concept of gambling. Like I play poker with them. I let them make showdown lineups. I don't think they understand like the scale at which me or other people are playing, but they will soon. And I don't know, it's not great. I would never tell someone not to get into this stuff. My concern is that 99% of people have no idea what they're doing, are going to lose, don't think about things the right way, going to whine about bad beats and blame someone else for losing, not understand rake. I mean, there could be a million different, not understand game selection. Like I remember I was playing poker at Parks maybe like long time ago. And this guy, he was like a normal reg. He wasn't very good, whatever. He brought his son a few times and his son looked like he was maybe 21 or 22. And like his son was worse, and he would like lose a pot and then like yell and bitch at the dealers. And I was like, man, like, why bring your son into this? He obviously can't handle it. I'm worried that they'll turn out to be one of the whiny bitches that loses all the time, because that's what 99% of people that are doing this are like. But if they could think about it, if I can help them think about it in the right way, and I'm trying to, maybe that would be interesting. But it would be I wouldn't like it if they were like, I'm going to be a YouTuber talking about single game parlays. Like, that would be like really bad, really bad. And that would be my fault, and it would still be really bad.
It's interesting. My son's 16, and I had no problem sitting him down and being like, you wear a condom, right? Seriously, and I had no problem sitting him down and saying a little bit of weed's not going to kill you, but like powders and pills might, right? I had no problem sitting him down saying a 12-ounce beer equals 5-ounce wine equals 1.5-ounce, whiskey, whatever. I haven't had a gambling conversation with him yet, because I can't think of anything to say outside of, and I know this is ridiculous coming from the fact that this is a betting podcast and it's what I do for a living, outside of don't. Like, you'll be better off not.
Well, I think what you could tell him is that for a low price of $49.99, he can get an ETR Draft Kit Pro subscription, and he can learn how to start his way down the path of playing the right way.
I could. It's funny though. He's not like a sports guy. He never really was. And so like, I'm kind of happy almost. Like, I'm not like, I feel like I don't have to push him.
Yeah, I do think like the entertainment, if people, I have so many friends that they bet $10 a night on a game, and like, that's so foreign to me because I don't find that fun. They get an incredible amount of entertainment out of that $10. Over the course of the year, they'll probably lose like $500 or something, and like, that's okay. And I think that's good. I don't know how it would run out for my kids though, if that's going to be like their take, or if they actually think that they can beat NFL sides or something, it's hard. It's hard for sure.
It's hard. I know myself. I will tilt. It happens. And, I'm like, I've chased losses before, and it somehow works out every fucking time. But I know that it shouldn't, and it won't one day, So like, yeah, I try to, I don't know. He's smoking enough weed that maybe he's not even thinking about doing any sports betting. How's Jerry doing? I haven't heard Jerry's name on the podcast that often lately.
Yeah, we've been lucky with Jerry. She's 12 and a half, and she's been in good health. She has some cataracts right now, so she's like runs into, bushes and stuff like that. But besides that, she's been in good health. It's crazy, man. When we got Jerry, I didn't have ETR, didn't have any kids. I mean, it's crazy. Like, dog basically grew up with me and us. It's a crazy thing. And I know a lot of people who used to listen to the old podcast really got to know Jerry also, because I always talked about her and she was always on all the videos and stuff. So it's crazy. I feel like a lot of people out there know Jerry, which is weird.
It is weird. I have 2 dogs. We've had a few before that. And Louis C.K., who I think we're allowed to like again. I can't keep up with who's canceled or not. But he had the greatest line ever about owning dogs. He said, owning a dog is buying tragedy. It's so true, man. It's brutal, So what my wife did, so the first dog that we had together, we had way before kids, died when my son was 4. And we waited a few years. We adopted another dog, and he was starting to get older a couple of years ago. And so my wife said, I'm getting another dog now. So that like when the time comes, the mourning period has to be shorter because you have another dog to take care of. And I'm like, I can't believe now I have 2 fucking dogs in my house, but that's basically what's happened.
I thought about that. It could give life, to Jerry, have a little puppy, give puppy around. So, we'll see, maybe.
All right. You moved out to Colorado. You live in the mile high lifestyle. What do you miss from the East Coast?
Just the food. The literal only good thing about the East Coast is food. I'm sorry to all the East Coast people out there. I lived there for my entire life. I grew up in the DC area. I lived in Philadelphia for 17 years. The only good thing about the East Coast is food, man. And the food is so good. And the food out here is not good. So every time I go back, I just like eat my way through Philadelphia. I eat my way through New York, eat my way through DC. And the food it's incredible, And I think when you're young, I think there's an energy on the East Coast of like people hustling and people grinding and people trying to like get ahead and all that. As I got older, I wanted to get away from that. But I think when you're young, like that rat race is actually like kind of good energy if you're into it. And I was into it. Now I don't want to be like around people who are talking about their job or their status or trying to get ahead. I want to be around people who want to be outside and just like enjoy it more than compete. So it's way different, but I like it better out here now for at least this point in my life.
And you say you moved out there when your kids were young enough that they didn't know that they weren't leaving anything behind, really.
Yeah, my oldest was in first grade when we left. So yeah, I didn't want to do that to them. They like get a bunch of friends and then we pick up and leave. I think that's tough on kids. I mean, you have to if you have to, but I think that can be tough on kids.
It's funny when you talk about like the rat race and the competition. I'm in Jersey and I've been my whole life, and I kind of unfairly judge people I meet immediately if they ask me what I do for a living within like the first minute of conversation.
When I moved here, I've known these people here, like in my neighborhood for 5 years. I don't think they even know what I do. Nobody has once asked me, what do you do? That's like not a thing. On the East Coast, the first thing I meet someone, they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I don't want to talk about this, But out here, it doesn't even come up. I don't know what any of these dudes do out here. Like none of them. I'm really not sure.
That's great. I think that's a better way to live because I remember thinking, I was a newspaper columnist for a long time and my face was in the paper 4 days a week. And, in my little community, I go out, people would recognize me, whatever. And I could see how, I'm going to put this in very heavy quotes, fame can go to somebody's head, right? What they do for a living becomes who they are as a person, right? And then I'm like, well, what happens if I lose this job and I become like a janitor at Walmart? Do I have to look in the mirror every day and be like, I'm a janitor at Walmart? It doesn't make any sense to tie your self-worth into what you do for a living. And so, yeah, when somebody asks me what I do for a living, my radar immediately is like, man, this motherfucker. Like, all they're asking it for is so that I can ask them what they do for a living, which I never do.
Yeah, maybe they're just making small talk, though. And maybe I'm too hard on people. I don't know what to say. So I'm like, oh, how about that weather out there today? It's like I can't go in public without saying something like that. So yeah, I hear you, though. It's crazy.
When somebody asks you now, though, like I remember you used to joke about what he used to say, you were like a data analyst.
Yeah, but I would say I'm in predictive analytics and people would just stop there, because they don't know what that means. So sometimes it depends who it is, I'm always reading like who it is. But I think it's someone that's played DFS before. I might say something along those lines. But even then, I find it, not be the best idea. So sometimes, a lot of times I'll just say if it's like someone I think doesn't know at all or an older generation, I just say I have a sports data business.
It's not a lie anymore. All right. All right. Listen, man, Adam, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to sit with us. Appreciate it. It's a fan of yours, honestly, since I found out about you. And, when I edited that book of yours, which it's right behind you, Skin to Fur. That's the mock-up. We demanded printed version. It was the easiest job I ever had in my life because I was like basically like hanging out with you in my backyard as I'm flipping through pages. And I want to take this time to apologize for my insistence on the Oxford comma. I know this is a bone of contention.
I don't know. I still don't know what's right. That's the crazy part. I don't know what's actually right. Should you have a comma in those spots or not? We'll never know. You think it's right.
I think it's right. I think better safe than sorry with the Oxford comma. Maybe we'll do some t-shirts. The Oxford comma to me, it's the 4 condoms. Nobody's going to, be confused after that. All right. Adam, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
The Business of Betting podcast is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. 4 out of the top 5 U.S. operators personalize player experiences with Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. Learn more about Optimove by requesting a demo at optimove.com/businessofbetting. And if you like what you see, you will get your first month free.